Bell Matters. I'm Blanche Marie, and today's topic is multiple bells in hand. There are many times in handbells when it's helpful to have more than one bell in your hand at a time, even though you only want to hear one sound at a time. That is called four in hand or multiple in hand. Four in hand because you have two bells in this hand and two bells in this hand. It's possible to get more, but a little bit more difficult. Similar to Shelley, but in Shelley ringing, both bells have played at the same time. When you four in hand, the bell in your hand, when you put it down, you need to be able to see through that handle. So this handle is facing one direction and this handle is facing the other direction so that you can play the bells in their different directions. Now, right now I'm using G, A, B, C. It doesn't have to be G, A, B, C. Whatever four bells you are working with, you could use. You could have the C and the C sharp because you're going back and forth from going D, C, B, C sharp. And so you would four in hand, and that way you're not having to throw bells. And one good way to keep your bell straight is if you're typically playing with your lower bell in your left hand, usually that's the space note. The higher bell in the right hand is your line note. So if you combined those space notes and your line notes, you can go up the scale without any problem whatsoever. There are many different ways to set up your bells. You could just go diatonically. That means just going up the scale G, A, B, C. Depends on the song as to which one is the correct one. The correct one is the one that helps you to make music without crashing your bells. But again, you're going to put the bell that's in your hand, and usually that's the heavier bell, so that you've got that weight centered in your body. Put that on top of the lighter bell so that you can see through the handle. The lighter bell, you can see the lower bell or the lighter bell, you can see the name. You want to have your fingers underneath the handguard on the lower bell, thumb wrapped around. So when you pick it up, the bell that was first in your hand, you play that so you can see your thumb. And then the handbell that was on the table, you're going to turn and knock on the door. So ring and knock, ring and knock. Now, it's possible to get both sounds at the same time. You want to go in between. So you have straight, the perpendicular, and the 45-degree angle in between. What you're going to work on is making sure that you only hear one at a time if that's all you want. But if you want both, you can get both. Depending on how big the bell, the sweet spot of the bell, you'll experiment with your handbells to see exactly where that is that you can get both of them. But generally, straight on, knocking on the door, and then halfway in between. If you are doing an entire song with your bells in this order, it's a little easier on the hands to what we call interlock the handles. So all I did was take the bell that was on top and I slipped it inside so that I don't have as much width here in my hand. I still have where I can see my thumb, which is the bell that was closest to me, and knocking on the door. And it's just very easy to go back and forth if you're doing, and then if you have your chord, you still have that sweet spot halfway in between. Now I have C, D, E, F in my hands. Say you're ringing a passage in all naturals, and all of a sudden there's an E flat that's coming in. And so you've had all four bells, but you need to go to the E flat, and then you can go back to your E. You can go back and forth, keeping your C so that it's ready to play. If you don't lock your handles, then it's easy to switch back and forth. But if you need to keep those bells in your hand for an entire song, it's easier on the hands to lock your handles. There's not a right way or a wrong way. There's the way that works for that piece of music or your hands. Some people with very small hands have a very hard time leaving the bells like this because there's so much distance here that you have to have grasped into your hand. And then that's not such the case here. It's a little easier on the hand. But again, if you're having to switch out bells, or if just the weight of the bells is too much for your hands the whole time, you might want to leave them unlocked so that you can drop the other bells after you play and continue with just your original bells. Now, I use the term multiple in hand because it is possible to play 6 in hand, which puts 3 bells in one hand and 3 bells in the other hand. You want to put your outside bells so that their handles are the same, and then the inside bell goes separate. This bell plays to the middle, this one plays out there, and this one plays forward. So to the middle is the bell closest to you, the middle bell, and then the upper bell. Theoretically, these 2 bells are facing the same direction in your hand, but because of the distance between here and here, you can distinguish between which bell is being played. So when you're putting together your 6 in hand, you've got your 3 bells, then the middle one up, get it out of the way. Put the heaviest one closest towards your thumb. And I have that one upside down. There we go. I need to make sure I see the logo correct. And then your middle one, you're going to turn it towards the middle of your body. Again, so that you see the logo when it plays forward. My heaviest bell closest to me, the middle bell facing forward, and the baby bell out to the right. So with 6 in hand, you have quite a number of songs you could do. If you set up a pentatonic scale with the 5 tones and then the octave, that's 6 bells. You can play a lot of songs that are based on the pentatonic scale. That gives you a lot of opportunities for handbell solo ringing. Let me reiterate. There is not a right way or a wrong way when you're talking about how to set up the bells, unless you consider, am I being healthy in how I hold my hands? Am I keeping the bells from hurting each other? And can I make music? Those are your 3 most important criteria. It does not matter the size of the bell. That would be more important than the size of the ringer's hand and the strength in their arms. The larger bells can definitely be rung 4 in hand by a person with larger hands and more strength in their arms. But whatever you're going to do, make sure that you make music.